Okay, welcome to another episode of Charlie's Desk. We're still in the academic work, and this is Dialectical Approaches to Orientation and Mobility. And this is kind of the introduction and essential lessons for the whole course. You would apply these in any one of the other modules. So I'll read the introduction. It's about dealing with big problems. Okay, introduction. The primary challenge of dealing with anything that feels like a big problem is answering the question, what am I to do? It is the very nature of big problems to be overwhelming, and this emotion-inducing quality has the effect of hampering our ability to cope effectively. It is a cruel irony that the big problem, in addition to whatever other negative characteristics it may have, temporarily robs us of our ability to outfox it. The question then naturally arises, how are we to equip ourselves with the skills to cope effectively with the big problems of life? You might find yourself asking, how can one even suggest an approach without knowing the specifics of my big problem? This is a wise question. The following pages suggest an approach to orienting ourselves towards our big problems in such a way that we are better able to cope effectively. The theory is that all big problems are actually composed of many little problems. The goal is to equip ourselves with the independent faculty to break down a big problem into its component parts. Once this work is done, we can set ourselves to a series of tasks we have taken the measure of and know ourselves equal to. All right, so we're going to talk about ways to take a big problem, break it down into manageable little bites. Okay, so this is sort of a lesson. There's 5 lessons, and this is the essential lessons summary. Lesson 1, options for solving any problem. When life presents you with problems, what are your options? Lesson 2, skills training assumptions. An assumption is a belief that cannot be proved, but we agree to abide by it anyway for the purposes of this skills training. Lesson 3, analyzing situations and problems to figure out their causes and plan for problem solving. Lesson 4, chain analysis. To understand a problem, do a chain analysis. Lesson 5, missing links analysis. Ask the following questions to understand how and why an effective reaction that is needed or expected did not occur. All right, the 5 lessons. Options for solving any problem, skills training assumptions, analyzing situations and problems, chain analysis, and missing links analysis. All right, lesson 1, options for solving any problem. When life presents you with problems, what are your options? 1, solve the problem. Change the situation, or avoid, leave, or get out of the situation for good. Not always possible. 2, feel better about the problem. Change or regulate your emotional or skills-based response to the problem. 3, tolerate the problem. Accept and tolerate both the problem and your response to the problem. 4, stay miserable. Requires little or no action. 5, make it worse. Easier than you think. Okay, so for 1, to solve the problem, analyze the problem, learn new skills, use new skills, repeat. 2, to feel better about the problem, use effective rethinking, interpretation, and emotion regulation skills. 3, to tolerate the problem, use distress tolerance and mindfulness skills. 4, to stay miserable, use no skills. 5, to make it worse, continue to engage in problematic responses to the problem. All right, that's lesson 1. Here we have the skills training assumptions. These are great. These help me a lot. I'm going to take a sip of water before I get into the skills training assumptions because I want to do them justice. Okay. An assumption is a belief that cannot be proved, but we agree to abide by it anyway while we engage in this process of skills training. All right, so most of the time, assumptions bad. These ones, good assumptions, okay? 1, people are doing the best they can. All people at any given point in time are doing the best they can. 2. People want to improve. The common characteristic of all people is that they want to improve their lives and be happy. 3. People need to do better, try harder, and be more motivated to change. The fact that people are doing the best they can and want to do even better does not mean that these things are enough to solve the problem. All right? So here we can have two opposite things be true at once, right? People are doing the best they can, people need to do better. All right? 4, people may not have caused all our own problems, but they have to solve them anyway. People have to change their own behavioral responses and alter their environment for their life to change. New behavior and skills have to be learned in all relevant contexts. New skills have to be practiced in the situations where the skills are needed, not just in the situation where the skills are first learned. Very important to remember. 6, all behaviors, actions, thoughts, emotions are caused. There's always a cause or a set of causes for our actions, thoughts, and emotions, even if we do not know what the causes are. 7, figuring out and changing the causes of behavior work better than judging and blaming. Judging and blaming are easier, but if we want to create change in the world, we have to change the chains of events that cause unwanted behaviors and events. All right? Okay. Now we're on to lesson 3, analyzing situations and problems. To figure out its causes and plan for problem solving. 1, chain analysis. Chain analysis is for when you engage in an ineffective response to a challenge. A chain analysis examines the chain of events that leads to an ineffective response to a challenging situation. It also examines the consequences of that particular response and what may or may not be making it difficult to change. It also helps you figure out how to fix the issue. 2, missing links analysis is for when you fail to engage in an effective, skillful response. A missing links analysis helps you identify what got in the way of doing things you needed or hoped to do, things you agreed to do, or things others expected you to do. It also helps you problem solve for the future. All right, so if you have a problem that's related to, your vision impairment, let's break it down into little problems and see if we can address it with some skills-based approaches, right? And that's why we choose, is this a missing link? Is there a skill I need to learn, a non-visual skill? Or, I got lost. What made me vulnerable to this? What was the chain of events leading up to this? So you might want to pick, which one it is, or just try one or the other. Okay, so now we're going to move on to chain analysis, okay? It's an 8-step thing, right? Chain analysis. To understand behavior, do a chain analysis. Step 1, describe the problem, situation, or ineffective response. Step 2, describe the prompting event that started the chain of events leading to the problem, situation, or response. Step 3, describe the factors happening before the event that made you vulnerable to starting down the chain of events towards the problem, situation, or response. Step 4, describe in excruciating detail the chain of events that led to the problem, situation, or response. Describe the consequences of the problem, situation, or response. To change the situation or response, step 6, describe skillful behaviors to replace problem links in the chain of events. Step 7, describe prevention plans to reduce vulnerability to stressful events. Step 8, repair important or significant consequences of the problem, situation, or responses. All right, so let's say it's just an O&M thing, right? You're having trouble getting out. So maybe it's, you're vulnerable because you lost more sight recently, and you had been used to traveling with a little more sight, but then you lost it. So the skillful behaviors you might want to replace, your current travel skills with is maybe doing a little work with an O&M or whatever. Just working on your cane skills, just putting yourself back in that mindset. And the step 8, the repairing the significant consequences, you feeling like you can't get out is a pretty significant consequence, I would say. So that's one method we could use. You pick a problem, you describe it, and you just go into detail so you can figure it out. It's pretty straightforward. All right, now the missing links analysis, just bear with me. You might have to rewind and repeat this because it's a lot of if yes, then this. It's a choose your own adventure situation. the missing links analysis, okay? So ask the missing links analysis. Ask the following questions to understand how and why an effective, skillful response that is needed or expected does not occur. Did you know what effective, skillful response was needed or expected? What skills homework was given, what skills to use, etc.? Did you know what you needed to do? If no, to this question, question one, ask what got in the way of knowing what was needed or expected. Ideas might include not paying attention, unclear instructions, never getting the instructions in the first place. Happens to a lot of people. Becoming too overwhelmed and couldn't process the information also happens a lot, and so on. Could be anything. Problem solve about what got in the way. For example, you might work on paying attention, ask for clarification when you don't understand the instructions, try and get some instructions in the first place, call others, look up information, and so on. So if the response to question one was yes, you did know what you were supposed to be doing, were you willing to do the needed or expected skillful response? Where if you know you needed to use your cane but you didn't, where was it a question of willingness? If no to question two, what got in the way of willingness to do what you needed to do? What was getting in the way? Ideas might include willfulness, feeling inadequate, or feeling demoralized. So problem solve what got in the way of willingness. For example, you might practice radical acceptance. Really excited to make my radical acceptance video. Very important idea. Pairing compassion and awareness. It's very helpful for dealing with difficult situations. You can do pros and cons grid, practice opposite action, and so on. I'll make some videos about that stuff. So if your answer was yes to question two, ask, did the thought of doing the needed or expected skillful thing enter your mind? So, right, it might be one of those things where you know you're supposed to do it, but you didn't. And that's okay. Even just thinking of it is progress, right? Or realizing later that you didn't think of it, that's progress too. Just, maybe slower than you want. So for example, if you might put it on your calendar, set an alarm to go off, make a skills notebook next to your bed, practice coping ahead for difficult situations, and so on. If yes to question three, what got in the way of the needed or expected effective, skillful response right away? Ideas might include putting it off, continuing to procrastinate, feeling insecure about appearing as a blind person in public, not being in the mood, forgetting how to do what you need to do, not thinking that no one would care, no one would find out, and so on. It really could be anything. So you could problem solve for what got in the way. You might make little rewards for yourself, practice opposite action, do pros and cons, and so on. So that's the introduction. It's just some problem solving approaches, right? We take a big problem, talk about our options for solving the problem, what assumptions we're going to have about ourselves. We're going to just try to be non-judgmental. We're doing the best, but we can still do better. And how are we going to figure it out? Is it a missing link? Is it a chain? So this is a good framework for discussing all the different things that come up in skills training when you're losing your vision or have lost your vision and are just dealing with it. So thanks for checking in with Charlie's Desk. And this is the introduction and sort of essential lessons of this dialectical approach to orientation mobility, which is based on a lot of different things, but the big one that is cited is dialectical behavioral therapy. The thing is, and maybe I'll pull out something from Charlie's desk. Oh, it's on my jean jacket, of course, duh. Right, the Heinz Blind Rehab Center. When I was reading this incredible book, Journey to Excellence by Stephen Miyagawa, which I'll do a video about later, but they were just so sensitive about emotions and problem solving back then, but it didn't really make it into the text, right? Because the guys who were inventing O&M, the formal O&M, they were military guys, World War II grandpas, so they were very sensitive to emotions in their grandfatherly way. So thank you for watching Charlie's Desk, and I'll catch you later. Bye.